So guys, welcome to the Search and Seizure show, right? I am calling this the Search and Seizure show because this is going to continue to grow, and eventually it's going to be, kind of like a podcast, right? We're working on bringing on, and somebody says, is there better lighting? And the answer is, unfortunately, there is not, because the hotel does not have lighting on this side of the room. So sorry, but it's a good question, but unfortunately we don't. All right. So hopefully you guys can still see me and hear me just fine. All right. Hey, but we do have good internet this time around. Guys, welcome to the Search and Seizure show. My name is Anthony Bandiero. And so I want to let you guys know that when I talk and I, repeat stuff, it's because this is going on YouTube, right? Now, your name, your agency, your chats are not seen on YouTube. Only the PowerPoint and me, all right? However, we are going to we're going to get some people on the mic to ask questions and so forth, all right? So remember to select everyone. The problem is that if you do not select everyone, then nobody can see your chat settings except me. And we want everybody on here to see everybody's chat settings. Again, for my YouTube guys, they're going to watch this later. You're not going to see the chat settings. That's not how Zoom works. They don't export the chat settings when we record this, but that's okay, because if I get a question, I will repeat the question for the YouTube audience. All right. What's up, Richard? From Rome City. Rome City, where? Are you from Italy? God, that's pretty far, man. All right, guys, let me introduce myself. My name is Anthony Bandiero. I'm an attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold law enforcement training. Cool, Indiana. Nice, man. Welcome here, brother. This is what I do for a living. I have the honor and the privilege to train cops all around the nation in search and seizure. Guys, I'd be lying to you if I said that this was not a dream job. It is a dream job. What's up, Seth? I love what I do, and I'm on the road about 45 weeks per year. This week, I'm in Los Angeles teaching at the great Los Angeles HIDA training facility. We got cops from all over Southern California in my class. And for those who are with us today that are in my class, welcome here, right? So a little bit about my background for those who don't know me. In fact, I would like to ask you, are you new here? If you're new and you've never been to one of these classes, say me. If you're like, never know about this dude, I don't know what this Blue to Gold is all about, I saw some email come out, say me, right? Cool. Thanks, Gerald. I appreciate that. All right, cool. I want to know. What's up, Hashi? Okay, cool. Oh, man, we got a lot of new people here. Good. This is all about reaching out to new peeps. Excellent. Keep saying me. If you're new, I want to see who's here. Guys, let me give you a quick background about who I am. Cool. Awesome, Daniel. Awesome. Hey, Daniel, do me a favor. And also Ronaldo and Seth and Tuan, I hope I'm saying that correctly, and Daniel, please change your chat settings to everyone, because unfortunately, nobody saw it except me. Guys, I was a state trooper in Las Vegas for most of my career as a sergeant. I then moved up to Elko, Nevada. Has anybody ever heard or been to Elko, Nevada? Anybody been to Elko, Nevada? Okay. BL, you have been to Elko. BL Smith is another search and seizure guru like me. He's out of Utah. And BL, you're my buddy, right? But you got some explaining to do, because there's only two things to do in Elko, Nevada: hunting and legalized prostitution. And BL, I've met you several times, and you never told me you like hunting. All right, hopefully you're laughing a little bit. All right, guys, look, kidding aside, I worked in Elko, Nevada a little bit. And then I finally retired early. And I went to law school. I went to law school in Gonzaga School of Law, Spokane, Washington. That's where I'm actually based out of right now, and so forth. So anyway, there you go. And I'm in Los Angeles right now. I am broadcasting from a hotel room in LA. Hey, Rick, are you there? My manager at the office, Rick, you know how sometimes this internet crashes? Isn't that, it's just crazy. Like sometimes the internet wants to reset. Like sometimes the internet says, hey, please type in your password again to be on the hotel Wi-Fi. If for some reason the internet crashes, I promise you, I will be back within 5 minutes. So don't go anywhere. And Rick will be on standby because it won't kick you out. But Rick will be on standby and like, hey, there it goes. The internet crash, the internet reset again at the hotel. So I'll be back in. All right. All right. Cool. The book, guys, I am the author of the best-selling search and seizure book in America. I'm very proud of it. I worked very hard for it on it. And the thing is, this book is written for cops. Very few search and seizure books are written for you. Most books, search and seizure books, are written for lawyers. And that is great for people like BL and me and other people here tonight that love search and seizure so much that they want to read an 800-page prosecutor manual. But my friends, most of you do not have the time or the interest to read that much. Pick up the book, right? Thanks, Gerald. I appreciate it. And then this book is very cop friendly. It's very down to earth. It's written for you in mind. And nice. Awesome, Daniel. Gerald's at a high school waiting for the high school practice. That's awesome. That's good. So you're on your phone. All right. That's great. So go to bluetogold.com. You can pick up your book. There's various state versions, but I got to tell you that most most states just need the national version, which is the one with the American flag. Don't worry too much about the state specific version. I just have a lot of requests by my cops in like New Jersey. We have a New Jersey cop here, and I teach a lot in New Jersey. By the way, I'll be in Glassboro in a couple of weeks. Hopefully I'll see you there if you're nearby. And that's neck of the woods. But I teach in New Jersey, and New Jersey can't use national case law because they're so different. But anyway, just so you know. All right. Disclaimers. Before I dive into the material, I want you to know that laws and agency SOPs may be more restrictive, right? What I teach here is the national standard. However, because I teach cops from every single state in the nation, if I know your state law and I know that you guys do things a little differently, I will let you know that something doesn't apply. I'm a barred attorney in New Jersey, Washington State, and so forth. So I know your state laws. I know Oregon. I know New Mexico. Pennsylvania. So I know that there's some quirks in some of your states, but generally speaking, what I teach here is applicable to every cop in the nation. Number two, if you have any doubts about the legality of your actions, push it up the chain, right? And this course is legal education, not legal advice. Let me see if I have my lawyer friend here from California. No, but anyway, I don't give legal advice over this Zoom. I am again a barred attorney. I have clients that I give advice to, but not over Zoom, right? With a bunch of people looking, and this is going to go on to YouTube. That's not the type of environment where people expect legal advice. Certificates. All right. Everybody's going to get a certificate for the class, right? Rick, I think tomorrow, right? Yeah. So we're gonna send out the certificates tomorrow when the office staff come back in. You'll get it by email, but do me a favor, do me a solid, check your junk mail. What's up, Sean? Check your junk mail and make sure. Now, look, if you do not get your certificate by tomorrow afternoon, go to the website, bluetogold.com, look on the lower right corner, and you will see a chat symbol. Chat us up. Jared, okay, anyway, let me finish my thought. Go to the lower right corner and click the chat symbol and say, hey, I didn't get my cert from last night. Can you help me out? And we will bend over backwards to make sure you get your chat within a few, or your certificate within a few minutes. My boy Jared says, can you show us some guns? If you know me, you've been around me for a while, you know that I love firearms. I have a very nice collection of firearms. I usually show off a gun when I do my online training from my house. But since I'm in California, I'm in LA, I do realize that just mentioning the word firearm is arrestable offense. So, Jared, thank you for blowing my cover. I will be going to jail right after this webinar. So let's see who's here, right? Let us see who's here. Let's so update your chat settings to make sure, right, that it says everyone, right? Jared says, I did not realize you were out of the country. That's a good one, actually. I like that. Right. I think I'm like right next door is Venezuela. So update your chat settings to say everyone, right? Second, type your agency and state, but don't send it because I want everybody to see them kind of like all at the same time, right? Type your agency and state, but do not send it. Be proud of where you work for. Love your agency. You know what? I love every police agency out there. Is there any agency that is perfect? No, except Sandy, Utah, where BL is. 3, 2, 1. Let's see where you guys are from. John Bleckenridge is here. That's awesome. What's up, man? John's a big wig. John is a big wig. I'm glad you're here, man. I'm honored. I know about you, John. I'm honored to have you here. What's up, Ann from North Las Vegas PD? Hey, Ann, are you going to the HIDA classes that Nevada HIDA is sponsored in a couple weeks in Henderson or Metro in December? What's up, Jose? Hey, Jose, again, lost probably what, Las Vegas Metro or I don't know, but we'll just so you know, we're going to be in Henderson and Las Vegas Metro in November and December. HIDA, okay, cool, Ann. HIDA has been a great partner of ours. If anybody's here from Nevada HIDA, nothing but love. Thank you so much for providing an opportunity for so many Nevada cops to attend search and seizure training. We really mean it. All right. Nice, Craig. You're going to be at Hendo, right? Awesome. That's great. Yeah, you see, John is the $5,000. Is that called a bounty? Is that what they call it when you're trying to get cops to come over to Florida? I think they call it a bounty. All right, guys, for future questions, right? Hey, Rick, is this the same email? Is this the same website address? I think it is, right? So for those future, if you want a question and you want me to answer it on the show, bluetogold.com/show. All right. So here's how we're going to do it, guys. I got some kind of interesting way we're going to do this. So first, I want to go through the questions that I've received in my email in the last few days. Now, can I ask you something? Let me ask you something before I dive into this. This is like a loose form, right? Has anybody seen my YouTube channel and all the videos I've been posting lately? Cool. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. So you guys are liking that, right? You guys are liking that? That's actually helping you because I can tell you that they take a lot of, they don't take a lot of work. They take a lot of time. Okay, cool. All right, Daniel. Hey, Rick, do me a favor. For the people okay, and John wants me to restate my positions on suicide entries. Absolutely. Hey, Rick just put up the YouTube channel URL. Guys, if you were not signed up for the YouTube channel, please sign up. I think that's it's good information. Obviously it's free, and I answer more questions there. I can't answer all the questions that I do here. All right. My friend John wants me to reiterate my position on suicides entries. Now, I want you to know, John, When you say position, that's another word for opinion. We can agree on that, right? My position is another word for opinion. Let me share with you my opinion about suicide entries. First is the law, okay? If police respond to a suicidal subject and they believe that they have, or they have facts and circumstances to believe that that person is in imminent or immediate harm to themselves, they can enter to take that person into protective custody and hand that person over to medical professionals so they can get help. Okay, that's the law, right? This is covered under a doctrine that says that entries into the home are authorized under the emergency aid exception. Does the cop have reason to believe that this person needs help to prevent them suicide, right, from themselves, right? And it's immediate, it's imminent. If the cop says yes, then the law covers that. Now let's get into my opinion. I am of the opinion that cops should not necessarily force their way into a home just to save people from themselves. The reason I say that is this. Number one is, in my experience, most people will not, it just got darker because the night setting went on my computer. So let me see if I can fix that. But the reason I say that is because number one, I'm gonna try to change my settings. Number one is that in my experience, most people will not kill themselves, you know, when they're threatening suicide, right? Most people will not kill themselves. I could be wrong, but you know, out of 100 people, a very small percentage do it. Hold on one second. Hold on. I'm trying to get the because there's not a lot of light in this room, so I'm just trying to fix this real quick. I apologize. One second. All right, I can't find it. It's not a big deal. All right, so that's the first thing. Number two is there is no constitutional requirement for cops to save people from themselves. There is no constitutional requirement for cops to prevent harm to others, right? Hey, Rick, I'll deal with that in a second. I'll deal with that in a second. I know the screen is very dark, and I do apologize. You're absolutely correct, but I'll deal with it in a second. All right, so that case is Winnebago County versus DeShaney. Okay, it could be DeShaney versus Winnebago County. It doesn't really matter. Either way, you're going to get the case. There, the U.S. Supreme Court stated that police, or the government, in this, you know, generally speaking, the government there's no due process requirement that police protect other people, right? And in the case of suicidal subjects, there's no requirement that the cops prevent the suicide. I'm not trying to sound cold. I'm not, because A, most people won't do it. And here is actually my next thing. When cops don't enter and when cops pull back, they save lives. Here's what I mean by that. Because most people will not do it themselves, there are a lot of people, though, who will attack officers and force your hand. A lot of people out there that know they cannot pull that trigger, that know they cannot slice their wrists, see you as a solution. And they sometimes will do a suicide by cop. And do you agree with me on this, right? It's a lot easier, in my opinion, right? It's a lot easier in my opinion, that people can have you kill them than them kill themselves, right? So that's what I mean by this. And I'm not trying to sound cold. I'm very compassionate, but that's what I mean by what police, you know, have to do, and also what they should do. I do know that a lot of Southern California agencies do not enter a home for a suicidal subject when they do not have evidence that other people are in imminent jeopardy. With that said, right? I'm trying to look for the settings here. With that said, does that answer your question, John? And any feedback? Okay. John says, want to reinforce, second opinion, covering in class tomorrow. Oh, absolutely. DeShaney versus, and John has helped me out with DeShaney versus Winnebago. Absolutely. Sean, I want to say I did see that, but it's not coming up as I'm not remembering the facts of that case. Can you? There we go. I fixed the settings, Rick. So, Sean, you want to help us with that? So, Sean, is that the one with the suicide by cop situation where the cop shot him? Exactly. There you go. Right. Point well taken. All right. So, John, the other thing is, man, you are covering this tomorrow. If you want this video to show in your class, I don't know if we're going to have it up by tomorrow, but John, if you email me, I will make sure you get it. Okay. So hold on. Let me give you my email. I will give you a link to download it if you want it, if you think it will help what you're trying to communicate. All right. Nice. Okay, cool. So, excellent. All right, cool. Let's talk about your submitted questions. Question number 1, right, is can you use hot pursuit to make a warrantless entry, right, into a home? If the suspect is standing in the doorway, the threshold, right, then retreats back into their home, right? So let's start with that. So let's imagine that you have probable cause to arrest this guy. Felony, right? A felony, let's go felony car burglary, right? Right? And you do a knock and talk, and he answers the door, and he opens the door. Can you grab him out and pull him outside and arrest him? Yes or no? And tell me what you guys think. Okay, we have no, yes, absolutely, yes, unless in the door frame area, right? Paul, yes. Tracy, yes. Edwin, no. As long as you have probable cause, yes. Roberto, yes. Let's see a few more. Daniel, no. Hey, Roberto, change your chat settings to all attendees, I'm sorry. Change your chat settings to everyone, my friend. Hey, John, do me a favor. You got to email me, buddy. I can't do it right now, and I'll forget that email it'll be up in the chat by the time we get done. Do me a solid. Send me an email if you can. Okay, cool. Thanks, Roberto. All right, guys. I'm going to, now remember, okay, Matthew and everybody else, you guys know, just realize what I said here. He's not in the threshold. He is behind the threshold. He opened the door to you. No good. Okay. Does that change other people's opinion? He opened the door. He's inside his home. He's not in the threshold, right? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm mixing up all the facts. It says right here that the guy was standing in the doorway and then he retreated into the home. All right, I'm sorry. That matters significantly. Let's go through the facts. So, all right, hold on one second. Let me kind of pull up some of these facts here to kind of give you a little bit of background. All right. So, all right. So the officer is actually from Nevada. Actually, is that cop here, by the way? Is my Henderson cop? No, I don't see my Henderson cop here. I see another Henderson cop here, but not the cop that asked this question. All right. So protective order violation. Okay, so this guy violated a protective order. It was domestic violence related. We knock on the door. The suspect answers. He's standing in the threshold of the door and then attempts to close the door and retreats into the house. The officers give immediate chase and make a warrantless entry and arrest him close to the, inside the premises. Is this legal under U.S. versus Santana? And the answer is, let's read this, right? So if the person is actually in the threshold, right, meaning in the door frame, and you chase him, the answer is yes. That case is, what case is that? What case is that? That's the U.S. Supreme Court case, U.S. versus, somebody's going to know it. I know somebody's going to know it. That's correct. Sean got it. Santana, right? So, however, if he's inside the door, in the threshold, if he's in within the threshold and outside the threshold, then the answer is no. So here's what I want to teach you, okay? Because oftentimes, guys, when people answer the door, will they really be standing in the threshold, right? I mean, honestly, when people answer the door and they pull that door open, right? It's a pull in, right? Will they really be standing inside the threshold? And the answer is absolutely not. The vast majority of times, people open the door and they're still in the house. I want to use this question, though, to remind officers that you cannot body snatch people out of their homes, even with a felony. Here's an example that discusses this. In McClish, an officer was standing on a porch and he reached into McClish's residence and pulled him out the door and arrested him. McClish stated that he was behind the threshold of the door, completely in his residence. While this was McClish's version of events, the court was required to credit his version at this stage of the litigation. The court held that the officer violated the Fourth Amendment by entering McClish's residence to arrest him without a warrant, consent, or exigent circumstances. All right, so just hey, Kathy, you didn't send it to everybody, by the way. Just went to host and panelists. So, guys, the point here is, if the person is truly standing in their threshold, in that area of the door where the frame is, yes, you can chase them into the home. However, if they are standing on the other side of the door frame when they answer the door, and even though you have probable cause to arrest them for a serious felony, but you do not have exigency, you do not have their consent, my advice to you is don't do it. Don't body snatch people out of their home, right? You can also get an arrest warrant and do that. It happens. Hey, isn't that why we're here, my friends? Isn't that why we're here, to learn good case law? All right. Hey, by the way, before I talk about this next question, I got a little carrot for you, right? I got a little incentive for my friends here. If you come up with a question and you are willing to go on the microphone and share with other people, the chat is great, but we also have people, they're going to watch this, later and so forth. No camera. There's no camera. We're not broadcasting your agency. It's just you and me. If you can just share your question, just talk to me and say, hey, Anthony, what do you I've always wondered about this. I will give you a webinar package to our online university that's worth $100, right? I'll give you $100 in webinars. You'll have access to all of the webinars I've done. So far, we're up to 18, but I add webinars all the time, right? So just think about that, right? You're like, damn, I want a webinar package. Well, ask your question, right? I'm paying you, Michael. I am paying people to ask questions on the show, right? But I know how cops, right? No cash value. I know how cops get. They're like, okay. All right, let's do it. Okay, how does Caniglia affects state statutes regarding seizing of firearms? Okay, so do you guys know what Caniglia is? Right, Caniglia is the Caniglia versus Strom, U.S. Supreme Court. Right. So what happened here is in the Caniglia case is what happened there is cops went to a house to. I'm sorry, back up. The husband and the wife were having a verbal argument, right? And the husband said he has a gun locked up, right? This is in Rhode Island, right? You got to have that shit locked up, right? He says he's so frustrated with his wife and he's so done with the argument. He says, "Why don't you kill me now and get it over with?" I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of see where the guy's coming from sometimes. Like I've been in some arguments with my wife, and I didn't like say the same thing, but I'm like, God damn, like I would really wish this argument was over. Like I can't fight anymore with you, right? You win. I can't go on any longer, but I didn't mean it like that. But I can't go on any longer. But I guess he said this, and the wife took it seriously. Okay, this was not some joke that I'm making. She took it seriously, and she left the residence and went to a hotel that night. The next morning, she calls Edward, her husband, and he's not answering. So she's like, okay, he might have did it. And okay, so I'm going to call the police. I can't go over there and see this, obviously. So the police arrive at the residence, and Edward is home, and he's fine. He's like, yeah, I'm in the shower, right? I mean, I'm fine. And they're like, well, didn't you say last night that you were gonna, you told your wife to get it over with, and and basically kill you? Look, he says, I said that, but I didn't mean it like that. I say, I was upset, I was frustrated. People say things when they're frustrated. They said, okay, but you know what? We're concerned about you, right? I mean, you say something like that, people are concerned. Are you willing to go have a medical eval? So he agrees to go do the medical eval, but on the condition that they don't take his guns, right? He has some guns, and he doesn't want them taken. So they said, that's fine. We're not going to take it. If you go voluntarily, there's no red flag law, right? So he goes, actually takes an ambulance, I believe. He takes an ambulance voluntary ambulance to the hospital. He gets checked out. Well, in the meantime, the cops go back to the wife, and she arrives also on scene, though. She's actually comes to the scene, and she's at the house, right? Allegedly, we don't know this for sure, but allegedly, this has to be figured out later. But allegedly, one of the cops, without consent, that's the allegedly part, right? We know the fact that what they did after this, but they didn't have consent. They went into the home to seize the firearms. Why? Best practice. Community caretaking, right? We want to make sure that this guy doesn't come home and actually hurt himself or others. Our heart is in the right place, but is the law in the right place? Can they do this? Can they go into this guy's house, right? Can they go into this guy's house and seize the firearms? And the answer is, what do you guys think? The answer is no. You can't seize people's property unless you have some form of exigency, urgency, emergency. So now, I love Matthew says crew, right? I love it. And Michael, they said yes. Michael, the answer is yes. They did use community caretaking, right? They use community caretaking. I love it. By the way, crew is one of my favorite inventions. By the way, there's a lot of people who do not know what crew is. Let me share with you what crew is. Crew is an acronym that basically says this: if you are implicating the Fourth Amendment, if you are doing something, right, that implicates the Fourth Amendment, then you need crew. Crew stands for consent. If you have consent to search my house, go ahead, do it. You don't have consent? Okay. Do you have a recognized exception? Right? Do you have a court case out there that says that you can push past me and search my home? Do you have a court case that says that you can push past me and seize my firearms? For example, motor vehicle searches. The only reason that you get to search cars on the roadside without a warrant is because the courts say you can do it. That is a recognized exception. But guys, if you do not have consent and you do not have a recognized exception, then you need a warrant. Let's look at the Indiana case law, right? Yeah, you're a little off there, but I give you an A for effort, right? So that's awesome, John. Thank you. All hell the warrant. I love it. Guys, I'm repeating a lot of stuff you say because I want to make sure that my friends on YouTube can kind of be part of this conversation, right? All right. All right. So here's what the Indiana law says, right? My cop is from Indiana. That's why I bring this up. Warrantless seizure of firearm from individual believed to be dangerous. Check it out. If a law enforcement officer seizes a firearm from an individual who the law enforcement officer believes to be dangerous without obtaining a warrant, the law enforcement officer shall submit to the circuit or superior court having jurisdiction over the individual believed to be dangerous an affidavit describing the basis for the law enforcement officer's belief that the individual is dangerous. So, affidavit must set forth quantity and so forth. So, do I think, right? Do I think that this law is unconstitutional? No, I do not. Here's why. Because they're saying that the person is dangerous. Well, I think we have to imply in there that the person is an imminent or immediate, right? Imminent means it's going to happen soon in the future. Immediate, it's like, damn, if I don't do something now, it's going to happen now. A danger. Well, if cops in Indiana are going into somebody's house just to seize firearms under this law, and there is no immediate danger, then they're misreading the Constitution, right? I mean, yeah, they may say, oh, in the past, Anthony, we've done it all the time like this. The guy's in the ambulance and he's on the way to jail, and we still, I'm sorry, not jail. He's in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and we still go in there and seize his firearms. If that's what cops are doing on October 27th, 2021 and beyond, it ain't going to work because it violates what? The Fourth Amendment. You can't violate the Fourth Amendment with the U.S. statute. With a state statute. So they're going to have exigency. To be sure, the Fourth Amendment does not prohibit all unwelcome intrusions on private property, right? The guns. Only unreasonable ones. We have thus recognized a few permissible invasions of the home and its curtilage. Perhaps most familiar, for example, are searches and seizures pursuant to a search warrant, a valid warrant. We have also held that law enforcement officers may enter private property without a warrant when certain exigent circumstances exist, including the need to render emergency assistance to an injured occupant or to protect an occupant from imminent injury, right? What is reasonable for vehicles, though, because community caretaking, that's what the cops are using here, community caretaking. But that's a vehicle thing, right? What is reasonable for vehicles is different from what is reasonable for homes. Prior case law acknowledged as much, and this court has repeatedly declined to expand the scope of exceptions to the warrant requirement to permit warrantless entry into the home. We thus vacate the judgment below and remand for further proceedings consistent with this opinion, right? So that's Caniglia. Here is the takeaway. If officers enter a home to seize firearms after the suspect has been removed, they need consent or exigency. A state law cannot supersede the Fourth Amendment. So if my officer friend, okay, in Indiana is working around officers that are entering homes to seize firearms with no warrant and no exigency, the guy is in the ambulance, the guy is going to the hospital, he's not near the firearms, and the cops have no consent from anybody who can get it, the wife, and so forth, right? Cops should not be seizing those firearms under that state law. It seems to me it's directly conflicting with Caniglia versus Strom. So you're going to have to get a warrant. Absolutely. Kevin says, can the spouse give consent to remove the firearms? Absolutely. If she has what's called common authority. Common authority means, does the wife have lawful access to the firearms, right? Usually the answer is yes. Oftentimes, it's very rare that a wife, husband, would not have access to that kind of property, right? I understand that, sometimes husbands and will have like a gun locker and, and they put all the guns in there. But does the wife have the code, right? Does she say, yeah, I know how to get into it. I just don't. Well, that is common authority. You don't have to get into it on a regular basis to have common authority. The question is, do you reasonably believe that you could access it if you wanted to, and the other person would understand that? So, Kevin, the answer is yes. Richard says probably not on NFA items unless on a tax stamp. So that's a little bit more complicated question, but I guess, just for my people who don't know what NFA items are and tax stamps, NFA is the National Firearms Act. These are machine guns potentially if you lawfully possess them. Machine guns, short-barreled rifles and shotguns and so forth. Well, it's not necessary. I wouldn't go with the whole, is she on the paperwork thing? I would just ask yourself, do you believe that she has access to the NFA items? If the answer is yes, I would do it. If you believe that she does not have lawful access, even if it might be illegal under the NFA, that question is not really pertinent to this question. Can she access them? Did the husband leave these guns in a position where she could access them? If the answer is yes, you can seize them. All right. All right, Gerald, I have to tell you that I'm very, very glad you are here, because this is the second time that I'm going to save you a lot of money. All right. So here's what happened, right? The question is, can you search the backpack inside a hotel room with probable cause that there's meth inside of it? Here's what happened. Cops go to a house to go to a motel, right, to serve an arrest warrant. So far, so good, right? And they enter they get into to the room, and before they arrest him, they say, hey, they're looking at that backpack over there, right? The backpack is like 10 to 15 feet away from the cops and the person, right? It's not next to him. They say, hey, are there any drugs in here? And the guy says, no, there's no drugs in here, right? Well, what about that backpack right there? Any drugs in that backpack? And this guy says, well, there's a little meth in there, right? So I don't know if you didn't misunderstood the question, but doesn't that include like the backpack, I guess, right? So the cops then arrest him for the arrest warrant, right? And I guess it's his backpack, right? They then one of the cops walks over to the backpack and opens the backpack and retrieves the methamphetamine. Are we good? Are we good? Do we have crew, right? Do we have consent? Do we have a recognized exception? And do we have a warrant? Okay, tell me what it is. What do we have here? Do we have consent, a recognized exception, or a warrant? And if it's a recognized exception, tell me what that recognized exception is. I'll wait. What do you guys think it is? Matthew says maybe it was a portable lab causing officer safety. Matthew, that is a big possibility, but is it a probability, right? Courts do not work in possibilities. They work in probabilities. All right. Was it within his reach? The backpack was 10 to 15 feet away. Okay. Let me tell you guys, ready for it? The evidence will be suppressed. There is no consent. Number one, he did not say that you can go search his backpack. He simply said there's meth in the backpack. That's not consent. Also, he has no legal obligation to stop police from conducting an unlawful search. No consent. Next, recognized exception. This is a great lesson for us because there is no such thing, my friends, as a probable cause only search. It doesn't exist. It's a unicorn. Well, unicorns do exist, but not this. There is no such thing as a probable cause only search. Think about it. Every time you search with probable cause, isn't it always probable cause plus? Isn't it always probable cause plus exigency? Probable cause plus motor vehicle exception? Probable cause plus search instant to arrest? Right? Here, there is no plus. All we have is a container that is not search instant to arrest because it's too far. It's not within his lunge area. The evidence will be suppressed. All right. Chattels. For those who do not know what the word chattels means, it's an old school colonial word for property. So I'm going to use the word property instead of chattels because that's what it means. Property may be seized under the authority of a warrant or with probable cause and a recognized warrant exception. Oh, snap, RE. Because chattels or property are often easily removed, the exigency of mobility, the threat that the property will be lost if not seized immediately, will generally justify a warrantless seizure of a property with probable cause. Unless the motor vehicle exception applies, however, mobility authorizes only the seizure of the property. Here we go. And not its search. Unless a recognized warrant exception applies, a search warrant must be obtained in order to search a piece of property, a container. Yes, so Justin, my friend, says, look, don't you have to take the property? Well, first of all, the answer is no. Okay, Justin says, don't you have to take his property since he's going to jail? Absolutely not. There's no, not that I know of, the legal obligation to take everything he owns under the sun, moon, and stars in that hotel room with him to jail. What if there's a baby crib, right? What if there's a baby crib in that room that doesn't belong to the hotel? Are you going to take that with you too? What if there is a piece of luggage and all this? You're going to take all that with him? And the answer is, yeah, leave it at the hotel. But here's the thing. It's not that you're going to leave that piece of evidence. You can take it, but you can't open it under don't seize the baby. You can't open it under a booking search exception. Is that where you're going with this? Right? Hey, don't we have to, I know that's what you're going with, right? Don't we have to take it to jail and then book it into, as inventory? And the answer is, right? No, we don't use inventory to search for evidence. You guys with me on this? You don't use the booking search exception to search for evidence when you have probable cause. You're using the wrong doctrine. The courts do not allow you to use a booking search exception to get around the search warrant requirement. So you're going to have to get a warrant on this one or his consent. Search before putting it in the vehicle, but there's no reason to seize it though. That's the problem. I mean, I'm sorry, you have every reason to seize it. There's no reason to still search it though. You can't create the motor vehicle exception by putting it in the vehicle. Even when government agents may lawfully seize such a package to prevent loss or destruction of a suspected contraband, the Fourth Amendment requires that they obtain a warrant before examining the contents of such a package. U.S. Supreme Court. It ain't going to work, right? Best practice here, seizing a container under the PC is fairly common. Now, searching it requires consent, a recognized warrant exception, RE, or a search warrant. Yep, exactly, Seth. Okay, We will wait until the motel operator takes the room and get it from them. No, Sean, please keep my personal cell phone number and let me in on these cases that you're going to be sued on because I want to make some legal fees. You know what I'm saying? No, you can't do it that way because it's not abandoned. Okay? It's not abandoned. You can't search properly just because the hotel takes possession of it. It's not abandoned property. It's not going to work. Not going to work. I'm glad you're here. Hey, are you guys having a good time? Right? I hope that you are, and I hope you're going to share these with your friends. I hope you're going to share the YouTube channel because, guys, I work very, very hard for you to make sure that you're making good case law, right? So please do me a favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel and share with your friends. All right. Gerald and Seth are definitely making me. I was actually going to call my wife right now on break and say, hey, honey, you ain't going to believe it. Gerald and Seth, you don't know them, but they're about to buy you a Mercedes. Can officers enter a structure based on nothing more than an unlocked door, right? The answer is probably not, right? Let's go through this. Here's the facts. A officer got a alarm call and arrived at the residence. Sean remembers my +1. Okay, cool. And arrives at the residence and wants to know, hey, can we just enter the house with nothing more than the alarm call? What about a business? Another one, this part of this case, right? Another question is, he says, my agency requires that if I'm doing business patrol and I see an unlocked door, that I have to enter the business to sweep it for, so forth, right? So, Tuan says welfare check. It is under community caretaking, right? It is under community caretaking. So here's the deal, okay? Here's the deal. Be careful here, right? Be careful. I do not teach alarm call only. I do not teach open door only. I teach alarm +1. Alarm, open door +1. I would like, before you go into that residence, before you go into that business, is there anything else that you can articulate that leads you to believe that maybe this is an active burglary situation, right? Gerald says, isn't the door open +1? No. I mean, are you talking about wide open, right? Wide open. Oh, I see. Gerald saying alarm +1. Oh, I see. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, that would be +1. Excellent. But I'm talking about either or, like an alarm call, nothing else. Door open, nothing else. Just be careful. The door open is more is a safe bet. The alarm, right? The alarm is the one, because guys, let me ask you something. Out of 100 alarm calls, how many are false in your experience? That's the problem. Are you guys with me on this? That's the problem. Because if I ask you, if you go into that house, you go into that business based on nothing but the alarm call, and you get into a shooting with the homeowner, you get into a shooting with the business owner that's just, handling some business for the night, and you go to court and I ask you, officer, out of 100 alarm calls, how many are false? 98%. Do you think you're going to have a hard day in court? Do you think that the jury is not going to buy off that there was a reason to believe that someone was in imminent harm? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I would do or would not do. I would not enter a business or a home based on nothing more than an alarm call. Now, so here's some case law from New York, right? Police officers did not have objectively reasonable belief that entry into the home of defendant's parents was needed to render emergency assistance to injured occupant or protect occupant from imminent injury. And thus, officers' warrantless entry was not justified under emergency doctrine. A mere triggering of alarm did not, by itself, present emergency situation because such alarms were usually false alarms and there was no sign of break-in. So when Gerald asked me alarm plus open door, we're going in, right? Alarm plus broken window, we're going in. Alarm plus signs of entry, we're going in. Alarm plus an odd car that does not belong and is not registered to the home, we're going in. Alarm plus the neighbors say that they're on vacation, we're going in. And one last one. Alarm plus plus you know that people are home, but they're not answering. I think you have a surrounding call out, right? Right, guys, right? If you know they're home, the alarm, you know that somebody's at the house and the alarm is going off and they're not answering the door, I would turn that into a surrounding call out because it's probably going to be burglars, right? So that's what I have for you. Just be careful. My piece of advice for you is, entry requires facts and circumstances to believe a present emergency exists. Unlocked door, standing alone is not enough in my humble opinion, especially in 2021. The world is different out there. It's just, in the old days, you could do a lot of stuff and they're like, you guys were never loved as much as the firefighters, right? Nobody ever loved you as much as the firefighters. So I don't want to say that, but they almost liked you as much, right? My wife is like, oh my God, the firefighters are the best, and that's why I got to tell you, if you're watching this right now, thank you to my neighbor who's a firefighter who has been taking care of my family since I've been gone. I came home the other day and he was mowing my lawn. I said, oh my God, Timmy, thank you for mowing my lawn. He says, hey, no sweat. I love mowing another man's lawn. And that's just, firefighters are near and dear to my heart. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. I thought that was funny. You guys don't think that's funny? These jokes are not quality enough for you? You want to take your operation somewhere else? You think some other legal trainer is funnier than me? All right. All right. Hey guys, anybody want to ask I thought it was funny. Anybody want to ask a question? All right. So Gerald, hey, honest question. So he wants to get back on track here. I like your style. I'm performing a business check of the local subway at 3 a.m. and find that the front door broken open. I don't have a legal. See, Gerald, you do. Absolutely. Number one, I'm glad you're clarifying this. I'm just saying just a door alone can be problematic, right? But I think you have two things, right? I think you have two things. Number one is, where is that door open at? A subway. Is Subway the kind of business that would stay open late? Hell no. They're all hourly employees. When the clock strikes 10, they're out, even if the cheese is sitting out. That rhymed, by the way. And number two is, you told me broken door. I said open door, something that's not locked, or maybe I should clarify, unlocked door. If the door is wide open, you got to do what you got to do to protect your community. But you got a subway, right? With a broken door, you're going in. You're going in, right? Does anybody else have a question that you want to ask on the mic? I would love to kind of also, these search and seizure shows are designed and intended to get cops to talk. Why only hear me, right? All right. What's up, Johari? You want to ask that question on the mic? And do me a favor, just so if you want to ask that question on the mic, let me take a quick 1-minute break, okay? And I'll be right back. And then hopefully, I haven't seen you in a while, by the way. I respond to a call. Okay, I'm going to answer your question. So 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. So let's talk about the stale misdemeanor rule. So first of all, you got to know that some of you guys are out there, you're like, what's the stale misdemeanor rule? Anthony, I never heard of that. It's a very uncommon common law doctrine that applies to misdemeanors only. What it is, and especially I've only really seen it in California. What it is a doctrine that says, look, because misdemeanors are so minor, if you choose to wait to arrest a person, even though it was committed in your presence, if you choose to wait to arrest a person, even though you could have arrested him at the time, you lose the ability to arrest, right? So the stale misdemeanor rule only applies to those things, at least to my education on this, right? It's a very odd rule that doesn't really come up a lot. But if you choose to not arrest a person, you lose your ability to arrest that person. You can still cite them and release them. You just can't take them to jail because it's stale. But it doesn't. Oh, you also got, okay, John also has a stale misdemeanor rule in Florida. That's awesome. But generally speaking, the stale misdemeanor rule does not apply to domestic violence for two reasons. Number one is that offense was not committed in your presence. So it's not the type of thing that we're trying to fix anyway, right? And number two, the legislature gave you authority to arrest a domestic misdemeanor. I love for my YouTube subscribers, Gerald and Seth, because they make such bad case law, they're getting along very, what they would say, swimmingly, right? Which is an old school word, which is extremely well. So they're going to be hooking up, and they're going to, like they said on the chat, they're going to share legal costs. Well, they didn't say that, but I know they are about to say it. So the other reason why the stale misdemeanor rule is not really applicable to domestics is because the legislature gave you consent, gave you permission, gave you authority to arrest a person for domestic, even though it was not committed in your presence. So if you have probable cause to arrest a person for domestic and it does not violate any other statutory issue, arrest him, right? Arrest him. So, because I'll give you an example. Nevada has a 12-hour rule. My Nevada cop, am I wrong? Is it 12 hours or 24 hours? I think it's 12 hours. I forget. So if you do not arrest a person within 12 hours, it's not an arrestable offense. It has to be done through an arrest warrant. So Jahari says, so would it be okay to arrest a suspect that is wanted for domestic violence misdemeanor a month later if the officers observed the suspect on the street? I would not do it. I absolutely would not do it. It may not really conflict or be applicable to the misdemeanor rule, but the problem is it doesn't have any safety concern, right? I don't know. I mean, I'm saying I just wouldn't do it. I think we're making bad case law. I don't think the courts are not going to like it. It's not the reason why the courts really allow you to make that arrest without not coming in your presence. It's stale. Yes, it's stale. I'm not sure it's applicable to the stale misdemeanor rule. It's just not good case law. I just wouldn't do it unless you had some other reason. All right. If a suspect invokes his Miranda right to counsel, can he be interviewed about new crimes committed later? What's the question on that, or the answer on that? Yes, no, we're 50-50. No, or 14 days. Yes. Where's my buddy Seth? Does Seth and Gerald answer this? Where's my buddies at? Yes, no, 2 weeks, and I have the case law. Just a second. The problem, Nicholas, I don't think your case law is going to address future crimes. Right? I don't think your case, I know your case law is not going to address future crimes, right? Are you talking about the Supreme Court case on that, Nick? I would love to see what you have and see if I'm missing something. But if you're talking about Shasta, Shasta's not going to address that issue. Shasta and all the Supreme Court cases are going to address what? Prior crimes. Yeah, Gerald, I think you might be right on this one, actually. It's look, first of all, okay, I want you guys to know. Seth, are you in on this? Um, Kevin says if they are in prison, I believe the 14 days. Yes, that's correct. 14 days applies to prison. If they are in regular jail, it's upon their release from custody. That is a good baseline. We don't know that for sure, by the way, but that's a good baseline. Or he reinitiates. That's exactly right. And Tracy says it starts over with new crimes. All right. Okay, so let's go through this, okay? Here's what we're talking about. So first of all, a lot of you guys are seeing the 14-day rule. And some of you might be thinking, whoa, what is going on with this 14 days? Are some of you guys confused about what people are talking about 14 days? I teach this around the country, and I'm telling you, a lot of cops do not know 14 days. And it's completely understandable. I get it. I wasn't taught the rule. My friend Paul, who is highly trained, did not hear about this. So here's the rule, okay? So if somebody invokes their rights under Miranda, there's two rights that they can invoke. The first right is right to remain silent. If a person invokes the right to remain silent, then cops cannot talk to that person again until a period of time has elapsed that shows the court that you have scrupulously honored their invocation. What does scrupulously honor mean in the real world? I don't have an exact number for you, but I do know in one Supreme Court case, it was 2 hours, meaning the officers can come back to the suspect 2 hours later and say, hey, I still would like to talk to you. Can I talk to you? Okay, what's up? And give him his Miranda rights and go from there. Other cases have held less, sometimes more, right? But also remember that if the person is being represented by a lawyer, you cannot talk to him about the crimes charged. So are we clear on this so far? So I don't want to speak to you, right? We're done. Scrupulously honor. You can come back within a couple hours or so, depends on the situation. If I have my lawyer already, it's off limits about the crime charge. However, you can still come back and talk to me about other crimes that are uncharged. Follow what I'm saying here, right? Okay. Now change that to I want a lawyer, right? You read me Miranda. I tell you I want a lawyer. I am off limits for 14 days. You are not going to come back at me and talk to me about any crime by any agency for 14 days. But Anthony, are you telling me that if I arrest a dude for Autoberg and I read him Miranda and he says, I want a lawyer, and some other agency does not know he invoked his Miranda and has this guy involved in a murder, and they want to come into the jail and talk to him, and let's say that's 5 days after his booking for the Autoberg, you're telling me that they can't get a Miranda waiver? And if they do, they violate his rights? Yes. That's exactly what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that if another agency comes in that jail and talks to him about an uncharged crime and gets a confession, that confession is not coming in because 14 days has not elapsed. That's it's Edwards, and it's Shasta is part of it, and there's all kinds of case law that anyway. So the next thing is 14 days of what? Well, the court said 14 days of Miranda style custody. This is not an interview interrogation class and it can get very confusing, but generally speaking, When the person has been released from jail, well, they're no longer in Miranda custody. So there's part of your 14 days, right? So they get released, they get arrested on Monday, they get released on Tuesday, wait 14 days if they invoke the right to counsel. If they're in jail pending charges, most courts have found that you still cannot talk to them without, it's tough. You cannot talk to them about other crimes. It's very, very tough. The Supreme Court needs to add some clarification here, but I'm just letting you know that at this point in time, we just don't quite know what this means when in a jail setting. But we do know that if they've been sentenced 14 days after that, cops can talk to them about uncharged crimes, right? Going back to my question here, new crimes. There is no case law that talks about new crimes. It's all about prior crimes. But most people believe that, most academics and search and seizure experts, like myself, believe that if the guy commits a new crime, he can be talked to, he can be spoken to about that, because basically the logic is he is invoking his right to counsel silence on past crimes, not future crimes. Here's an example. Well, I did have an example, but if a suspect invokes his right to counsel, right, it's only 14 days. I just kind of threw this in there. He can always reinitiate. And I think I saw somebody actually put that in here, right? He can always reinitiate, right? That was actually Sean, right? Sean says he can reinitiate. The problem is, if he doesn't reinitiate, you have to wait 14 days for Miranda custody. The prohibition applies, of course, when the subsequent interrogation pertains to a different crime, when it is conducted by a different law enforcement authority, and even when the suspect has met with the attorney after the first interrogation. So even though they met with an attorney, a new crime, new agency, it doesn't, you still cannot talk to him because he's invoked his right to counsel. Also, it is generally assumed, without benefit of any relevant case law, that when the subject commits new offenses while in custody, he is not immune for questioning on new cases. So the takeaway here is that there is no clear case on this issue. But I don't think the invocation rule applies to future crimes in jail, on release, and so forth. So therefore, I think cops are making good case law if they speak to him. All right. Sean says we need a flow chart. What's funny that you said that. I am working on that. I have an interview and interrogation course law class that will be launched in February of 2020, right? Sean says crayons will help. No kidding. Okay, so Seth, so the time elapse is weird, but I would think 2 hours would be too soon to be coerced or allegedly if the suspect, however, wants to talk. Look, Seth, the Supreme Court is the one that said 2 hours, not a lower court. So 2 hours was good enough for them. It might be good enough for your state, right? Edwin, what if you ask him if he's been Mirandized and invoked his rights recently, and he lies and he says no, even though he has? Are you good, or do you have to wait the 14 days? You're not good. It is what it is. We need a deconfliction database on this issue, right? I mean, I'm joking, but it's like, unfortunately, he got you. Unfortunately, you got had by the suspect. Maybe he knows his rights. And it is what it is. It's just the rules as they are in 2021. Edwin says, I tried. So Gerald says, where is your course and where is it being held? Hey, Rick, where is the first interview and interrogation law class being held? Right? All right. Live Q&A. So asking questions. I hope that we have like 15 minutes left. Does anybody want to ask some questions? Here are some ground rules. Number one, no dumb questions, just dumb answers. I try to not give you dumb answers. Hopefully I have not let you down. Number two, no one can see you. There's no cameras here. No matter what, you're not going to be, that beautiful face of yours will not be on camera. Number three, you got to use the mic. I want to hear you. I want to see what you got to say. Hey, Anthony, this is what I got. What do you think? right? And then finally, agency can stay private. You don't have to be like, hey, I'm from this agency. Just say, hey, look, my name is Johnny. I got a question for you. And if you ask a question live, I'm going to give you all the webinars on our on demand. And it's extremely popular. 18 webinars, and about every webinar is an hour and a half. So about 22 hours of webinars. All right. Who has a question? Let's see what you got. Now, I want you to ask a mic. Orange Beach, Alabama, February 2nd. So, but I will also add that webinar online, right? We'll also get that webinar online, right, Rick? We'll get a date. Now, I know somebody asked the question a long time ago, and cool, thanks, John. Hey, who wants to ask me a question? And I know somebody had a question a long time ago. Paul, can I turn on the mic? All right, hold on. And then Sean, you're up next. And Rick, are you going to record who asked questions so we can give them a code for the webinars? Okay, Paul, on your end, hit yes.
Okay.
What's up, Paul?
Oh, not much. All right. Had a officer that works for another jurisdiction, also works part-time for us. He was doing an investigation on a stolen motorcycle. The person that had actually committed the theft was incarcerated, but he left his cell phone with the ex-girlfriend that this officer was interviewing. During the interview, as she's giving him all this information, she says, there's something you might want to see. She goes, grabs the cell phone that this individual that's incarcerated left with her and brings it to the officer. And she opens it because the person who is incarcerated gave her the PIN number so she could open it. She opens the phone and begins to show him, the officer, pictures and messages, text messages. Is that a good or a bad search?
Okay, so I have your answer, and I know it with 100% certainty. But I would like to give the audience, and by the way, Gerald and I are going to get along great. Gerald, can we have a beer one day? Because you're a funny dude, man. I totally get you. Like go ahead, Paul. Like it's like the love line. You know what I mean? This guy's funny, man. All right, Gerald, where are you out of, by the way? Because you're making me laugh like all the time. All right, so what do you guys think about this scenario? Are we good? Yes or no? All right, looks like most people are saying good. All right. Yep. So actually, here's the deal. So Daniel is probably the most legally correct so far that I see, because he's talking about this issue about common authority. So the answer is no, Dennis is saying no expectation of privacy, but I want to just give a little feedback on that. It's not that he has no expectation of privacy. It's about common authority. All right, look, guys, here it is. So you're 100% good, and here's why. Common authority is a doctrine that says that other people can allow police to search an item when the person who owns the item gives that item to somebody else, and they take a risk that they will show the police evidence. When he gave that phone to the girlfriend, it's just like a person lending somebody a car. He didn't put any strings attached on it. He's basically saying, hey, here you go. Here's my phone. You can, whatever. And the idea here is that the police are not violating the suspect's reasonable expectation of privacy, because the girlfriend has the right to show the police the same thing that she has the right to view, right? So That's what's going on here. One person said cat out of the bag. That is a type of search that I teach, where if a private person finds contraband or evidence, right? Here's probably just evidence. Is it contraband? Is it like child porn or something? Or is it just kind of evidence that shows that he knew that he was engaged in criminal activity? All right, it looks like your mic is gone. That's fine, but it doesn't really matter. But the cat out of the bag is where the police replicate the same search as the private person. That's how it's going on here. What's going on here is that the girlfriend has common authority to do it. All right, Paul? So
Awesome.
yeah, okay, there you are. So 100% good to go, no problems whatsoever. And the girlfriend, okay, yeah, we're good. I mean, I can beat it to death, but it's a very important topic, but there's no legal issues whatsoever. All right, nice job.
Great.
And we'll
Thank
make
you.
sure you get the webinar package. Thanks, brother.
Great.
Yep. All right, who's up? Who's next on the love line? I'm sorry. I think that stuff is funny. The love line. All right. Gerald says, is Richard related to Anthony? The answer is yes, right? He's my twin brother. He's my brother. You know, he's my twin. He's Gerald, okay? He is my identical brother. Do you know the Lord blessed the earth twice that day? Huh? All right. He's also the manager of my company. Right, Rick? You're the manager. You run the show. You run the show. All right. Who's next? Hey, Sean. Sean, did you want to ask a question too? Was that you? All right. Let's get the mic on. You ready for the mic, Sean? Gerald. Yeah, exactly. By the way, Gerald, my mother is here too. Hey, mother, why don't you say hello? This is the Bandiero twins' mother. Okay, Sean, let's go with Sean first. Sean, you're up on the Bandiero love line, the Bandini love line. Hold on. Did I do the wrong Sean?
All right, did that work?
Yes, I got the right Sean. There was two Seans on there, so I got the right. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how are you, Anthony?
Good, my friend.
All right, so you have a call for service, a suspect brandishing a firearm in a rather specifically described vehicle. Patrol officers locate the vehicle near the location of the call, pull it over, contact the lone occupant, the driver. He has a warrant. They pull him out. They search the vehicle for the gun. They don't find one. However, the glove box is locked and it uses a key, and there's no key that fits that glove box. Driver says he doesn't have the key, and this is a very expensive vehicle, and nobody wants to break open this glove box. And so they said, well, forget it. We're just going to take this guy for the warrant, and we have a legal reason to tow his car. Let's say it's blocking a fire hydrant. So they just tow it away for blocking the fire hydrant, and off it goes to the tow yard. Back at the station, the discussion becomes, why didn't you search that container anyway? And so the decision is made to go to the tow yard and break into the glove box, and then there's a gun found.
I have your answer, and I'm 100% confident in the answer. But before I give you my answer, I do have to ask you this: what state are you in?
California.
I have your answer 100%. Okay, so you actually there's two parts of this question. There's probable cause searches and there's inventories. Okay, let's first work with probable cause, right? Do you believe that the officers had probable cause to search that car for a gun, or do you think it's only reasonable suspicion?
I think probable cause.
Okay, tell me why.
You had a informant who called 911. The car was found as described by the informant. It was near in time and location to the time of the call. And I think that gives credibility to what the informant told you. And it's a citizen informant, so it's not, some mercenary type informant. So you had just a regular citizen calling about it.
And just real quick, what did the witness say? She said that he or she, the informant, said that He shot the gun or brandished it. Remind me what that part
Just
was.
brandished it out the window. This was outside of a business, so there was people out.
Mhm.
And this guy pulls up by this business and he brandishes a firearm at them, and
Okay.
then he drives away. And
God.
one of them called 911.
First of all, I got to tell you, I think I'm going to echo what Seth said. I think this is like the first time, or like, this is the second show that we've had, but I love the mic. I think this is so fun because it is like a radio show, and it gives me an opportunity to show all the facets to these search and seizure cases. I got your answer. So first of all, can I talk to you about the informant? Have you taken my classes before?
Yes.
Okay, because what I teach, and it's showing, because when you have a 911 caller calling and they're like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to go to court because I fear retribution. They're not anonymous. They are an informer. So you're using the right terminology. The reason why they're an informer is a case called California versus Neverett and U.S. Supreme Court. And we don't treat them like a truly anonymous tip because they are calling 911 and they're presumptively reliable. The second thing is, are they alleging illegal conduct, right? And the answer is yes. In California, especially in California, because it's such an anti-gun climate, A, it's very rare to have a gun. And B, brandishing it is obviously illegal in every state, right? So do we have a reliable person that we should trust? The answer is yes. And are they telling us something that is illegal? The answer is yes. That is probable cause. The next thing, let's apply the probable cause to the car. The way you search a car in the state of California and about 45 states is the same as if you had a warrant. That's U.S. versus Ross, U.S. Supreme Court. So whenever you have these conundrums, you're like, man, can I break open the glove box? You always ask yourself this: do I believe that I can go get a judge to sign off on a warrant to search that car for a gun? And I think you're going to say yes, right?
Yes.
Correct. Then how do you search that car? In the same manner as if you had a warrant. If a judge would allow you, which he would, or she would, break open the glove box, what can you do without a warrant? Break open the glove box. That is exactly the holding under U.S. versus Ross. I also have cases that talk about breaking open locked boxes under probable cause. But you do take a risk. If the judge later at a suppression hearing says, hey, look, based on what you're telling me, officer, I do not believe that you had probable cause for the gun. You maybe had reasonable suspicion, but reasonable suspicion doesn't get you into locked containers. I'm not going to uphold it. Here, I think you are good because of the informer rule, and I think you had probable cause. Therefore, breaking open. Let's talk about the impound lot. Does the fact that the car is at the impound lot change anything? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Period. I know this one 100% certainty because there is a U.S. Supreme Court case. I want to say it's Michigan versus Foster, but don't quote me on that. I may be a little off on that. But there's a U.S. Supreme Court case where a cop searched a car at an impound lot and found and did not have a warrant. And the court said it's irrelevant that the car was at an impound lot. Should you get a warrant? Hey, look, look, I like making good case law. I like cops getting warrants. But your question for me is, do you need a warrant in the state of California? The answer is absolutely not. Let me address one last issue before I let you go.
Okay.
Opening locked containers during the inventory. Let's say, as an alternative, we didn't have probable cause. Let's say that all we're working with is inventory. If you want to open a locked container under the inventory exception, you have to have a policy that allows it. Step one. The other problem, though, is we don't usually see a lot of cases where cops are going around breaking people's stuff open under inventories. Usually what we see is cops will use a key to open up a locked container. They will kind of, wiggle it and it opens. We don't see a lot of cops going around with crowbars, breaking open trunks and breaking open safes under inventories because, quite frankly, I think it's unreasonable, right? So I don't, if it's locked, then the argument is, well, if it's locked to you, it's locked to some thief that can't get into it. So the point is I think you are good under probable cause. I think you might be gone, but hopefully that answers your. Are you gone? No,
Nope,
you're good.
I'm here.
So,
And that was the argument as to whether or not it was a probable cause search or an inventory search. And at the end of the day, the probable cause search won out.
right, and I will tell you with 100% certainty. Okay, I'm in California. I'm teaching search and seizure in California, and we actually talk about this issue this week. And this is by the way, this is for my. Even though you're not in California, this law is the same in the vast majority of states. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New Mexico, Oregon, Washington are the exceptions. Every other state and Hawaii are the rule, right? This rule that I'm talking to you now is the rule. And I'm just letting you know that if you guys believe that you had probable cause, which I do believe that you had, you're going to win that case all day long. Break it open. Should you get a warrant? That's, look, I would like you to get a warrant. Do you need a warrant? The answer is no. That help?
Perfect. Thanks, Anthony.
You're welcome, my friend. All right. So Craig says, what was the case law on the informant in California? You mean that informants are reliable? Oh, California versus Neverett. And I might have that backwards. Sometimes you get them backwards. Neverett versus California. It all depends on who's the one bringing the. But I'm gonna type it in right now. It's something like this. Okay. Who else wants to go? Who's next? We got one. I'm gonna do one more call. I think it depends on how you guys are liking this, but I might do one more call. Who's next? I know we had one more guy. Justin. All right. Hold on, Justin. Ready for Justin? Before I turn on your mic, you ready? Let's make sure. See you, Charles. Justin, before I turn on your mic and on my end, are you good? Let's make sure we're good to go. Okay. I just want to make sure, Justin. All right, buddy. Now it's on your end. Go ahead. Seth says you're the last one. Make it good. Seth and friggin' these people are on a roll tonight, man.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes. What's up, man?
All right. So one day, K9 unit pulled a vehicle over for an illegal left. Was going to cite him, but when he was talking to the driver, found out that, because he asked for license and registration, couldn't find proof of the insurance. And then the driver stated, hey, this isn't my vehicle. It's a buddy's vehicle. He just let me borrow it. Well, the K9 unit ended up calling additional unit over to find out kind of like what to do with it since it's not his vehicle. Well, the responding unit that followed up said just have the guy call the registered owner, have the registered owner show up and release the car to them. Well, he called the registered owner. It was taking a while. The driver, and he actually had a passenger, contacted their friends. Their friends showed up. They left the area. The K9 unit took the keys. So while we're standing there in the parking lot, waiting for the registered owner to come to this vehicle, we get another call out saying, officer needs assistance for a possible stabbing. So they respond to that. After that call's over, they come back to the vehicle. Then the registered owner shows up, takes possession of the vehicle and leaves. Well, the issue we were having was our watch commander was saying that was illegal to do, that law enforcement, as us anyway, freaking took the keys, because it's kind of like a legal seizure of the vehicle, I suppose.
Yeah.
Correct.
Look, so here's the deal. You got this guy in this car, and do the cops at least have reasonable suspicion that the car was being driven unlawfully by this guy?
It was
Or
just an illegal left.
Say again.
It was just an illegal left turn.
No, but what about, see, here's the deal that I'm looking at here. Do the cops have facts or circumstances to lead them to believe that this driver of this vehicle was unauthorized to drive that vehicle?
No reason at all other than just him simply stating that, hey, this is not my vehicle. But then not being able to show proof of insurance, didn't know where the registration was. That was kind of like iffy, because then we're sitting there thinking like, well, what if we let this guy go? It's maybe possibly could be stolen because we can't have the registration, and then doesn't have proof of insurance. What if he gets into an accident
Mhm.
and it falls back onto us? Like, why did you let an unlicensed or uninsured driver drive? And then
Right. And he is licensed. That actually is important for me. He's
yeah. No,
Okay.
he was licensed, just didn't have proof of insurance.
Can I ask you something else though? Did he give any indicia or not indicia, but did he give any indication that he knew who the owner of that vehicle was, to kind of alleviate the suspicion that he did steal that car? Or did he know who the owner was and give
Yes,
a phone number?
It was one of his buddies. He gave him a call, and I'd
Yeah.
have to say maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours later was when the registered owner showed up, and we handed back the keys to him.
All right, look, I think we may have a problem. Okay, so he knows who the owner is. He has the phone number to the owner. The owner's not saying, because you guys called the owner's not saying my car's stolen. He's not saying that. He's like, yeah, he's coming out, right? The other thing before I answer the question is, your state does not have a electronic confirmation for insurance to run. Like if you run that plate through DMV, it does not show up as any kind of registration violation or suspension because of insurance.
Well, the thing is we do have CLETs, and only our dispatcher has access to CLETs, not the actual individual officers on the road. We don't even have computers in our vehicles.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
we didn't talk to the actual registered owner ourselves. We were just going off a word of what the driver was saying in the vehicle.
All right. And then my last question is, I think it's my last question is, so are you saying that if the officer would have called dispatch, they could have confirmed that this registration is valid with valid insurance, that would have been an electronic confirmation?
Yes. The
Problem.
dispatch would have been able to say like, hey, this is the owner's name.
Yep.
Registration is good.
And when they say registration is good, they're also saying that DMV or also believes that the insurance is valid. Or is that manual check? That's a manual deal.
Yeah. I've never actually been able to check that personally myself. So
Okay. What state are you in? Because I might know the answer. Where?
California.
Well, you're in Cali. Don't they have electronic confirmation? Hey, what my fellow officers in California, can you if you do a registration check or dispatch, can they confirm whether that car has valid insurance? You better leave my boy alone. The guy's working his ass off out there with no computer, man. We didn't get, I can tell you at my job, we didn't get computers until 2015.
Funding, don't even have body cams either.
Okay, you better leave my boy alone. He's working his ass out there, man. Okay, hold on. Let's see. In Cali and no electronic confirmation? Not really. Okay. All right. This is going to help you. So so we have a couple issues going on. I do see some problems. I'm not going to lie to you on this. And here's my problem. Number one is reasonable suspicion, right? If an officer has reasonable suspicion that the vehicle may be unauthorized driver, they can detain that person for a reasonable amount of time while they, and this is the key word, diligently pursue a means of investigation to confirm or dispel their suspicions. Well, I don't think we have reasonable suspicion anymore that this car is stolen, unauthorized driver, whatever, because the cops gave talk to the RO, and the RO is not indicating at all that this person has stolen the car. So unauthorized driver in my book is out. If you guys you agree with that?
We didn't specifically talk to the actual owner.
The driver did.
Yes, the driver were like, hey, if this isn't your vehicle, can you call your buddy and have him come down here and collect his vehicle?
Oh, that changes things a little bit. So he could be lying to you a little bit.
And you don't even have registration because he's like, I don't even know where it's at. I don't even know if it's in the car. And instead of everything for an hour.
Well, but here's the issue with that though. I mean, look, okay, let me ask you this. I mean, did the cop even ask him like who's the registered owner? And he gave the right name, like the guy's name Anthony Smith, and he says, yeah, who owns this car? Anthony Smith, and that matched the RO. Did anything like that occur?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It was the canine unit that did it, and that's the whole reason why he requested for additional officer to show up.
All right. So here, I mean, look, it's not cut and dry. It's a little gray. But the thing is, if an officer reasonably believes that the car is stolen, unauthorized driver, and so forth, the officer can certainly pursue a means of investigation to confirm or dispel. But to me, the easiest way, I mean, what would the court? You don't have to pursue the most, direct investigation. You don't have to do. There's all kinds of options, but it seems to me that Jahari's looking at the cleats or clets. I don't know if you guys call it clets. We call it something else in Vegas, but insurance information unknown. Right. So Jahari's making some trying to test it out for us. So look, it seems to me that the best way to kind of dispel any suspicions is to, number one, ask this guy who owns this car, right? And if he starts telling you who owns the car and it comes back and, he's saying, yeah, this person lives on Main Street, he lives in Ventura, then it seems to be dispelling the suspicion that this guy's driving illegally, right? And the other thing is this insurance. So look, I'm cool. Just because California, some agencies, have, access to this. If you have reason to believe that the car has no insurance, well, then you can continue detaining it to determine the insurance status. So I have no problem with that either. I don't think the law, I think the law is okay in there. Hell, you might even have probable cause that they don't have insurance paperwork. I think that may be the best way to go. So if you have probable cause, then, but one of the other problems is that you guys left and then came back. So you had an emergency though, right? You had an emergency and it's a legit emergency, and you went to that and came back. Look, at the end of the day, here is my answer. The whole thing is extremely confusing. There's so many moving parts, but I think you're okay. At the end of the day, I think you're okay because of something called qualified immunity. There's so many things going on that are not clearly established. The insurance may be probable cause. The stabbing gives you agency to leave the scene. You came back to the scene, the owner was there, and so forth. I just don't see, even if we had something that was kind of constitutionally suspect, I just don't see a clear violation of somebody's rights. In the future, what I would do though is really get down to business on who owns that car. Ask this guy who owns the car. If he starts rattling off who owns the car, their address, their city, whatever, I think you kind of dispelled your suspicion. I would continue. I would move on. So do you understand do you agree with that, or you kind of see where I'm coming from on that?
I do. The thing that's kind of a bummer is we're so limited on what we can see.
Yeah.
Because for instance, a lot of these people pass these vehicles around from one person to the other person, and they're supposed to register it, register it with their name and all this.
Yeah, the 30 days, right? 30 days or something.
Yeah. So one vehicle, I mean, we can have it pass through like an entire 10 different people. So even our system might not even have the actual real registered owner's name or anything too. So,
but the other problem though too, buddy, is that if you're saying though that they're passing it around, I mean, pass around in the sense that they sold it, or pass around in the sense of using it. I mean, I don't think it's a crime in California to pass a car around to a bunch of crackheads, meth heads, and just say, you can use my car. I mean, that's not a crime. It's a crime to sell the car to somebody else and that person doesn't register it. So I'd be careful with that too, right?
It's difficult for me because I actually work on a federal installation.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other things that they're supposed to be doing.
Oh, well, now you open up another can of worms. You're on some kind of, you're okay. I get you. That one's outside the scope of this conversation, because obviously you're going to have different rules that apply to you on federal installations. I mean, the rules, military, secret bases, Area 51, whatever, are going to have different rules. But as far as, domestic law enforcement, all I can say, the message from this conversation is this: diligently pursue. If you believe that the car is not lawfully possessed, pursue it, figure it out. And once you believe that the car is not illegally possessed, that, you know, even if it's being passed around and it's the community car, just like these are not my pants, the community pants, if it's being passed around, that's not illegal to my knowledge. And I would move on to something else.
I totally understand you as well. It's just difficult, and this is why I'm starting to take your classes as well, is because I feel like our department is so focused on, well, this is what this person wants, and they're in charge of this whole area. Everybody's got to follow it, but then they kind of forget about everybody's constitutional rights. And there's been several incidences where I had to tell other people, like, hey, stop what you're doing, because right there, you're violating somebody's constitutional right. So it's hard to, you know, try to understand what a local agency would do outside our area,
Mm-hmm.
and then what we have to do as well because of federal.
No, and I'm an expert at federal law. Well, actually, just so you know, federal law and California law are the same because of a constitutional amendment in California from 1981. So they are the same. You know, the California is the Fourth Amendment. But I will tell you that you make a good point before we end off class, is that make good case law, right, guys? I mean, isn't this what this is all about? There's some people out there that like to ride the edge and tell cops to ride the edge. I'm not going to tell you to ride the edge unless you're dealing with something serious. But for most things like this issue right here, it's very minor, and the cop should just make good case law, right? If the cop thinks that it's just a hand-me-down car and other people are driving it, but it's not stolen, move on. That's what I would say, right? But I'm glad you're here, and hopefully you'll be back next week. So, guys, thanks, Tracy. Guys, I'll be back. So I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna turn off your mic. So there's that, guys. Justin, thank you. Seth, thank you. And Gerald, thank you guys for making this a great class. I will be back next Wednesday. Now, this one is 6 p.m. Central Time. No. Yeah, Central Time. I'll be back next week, 6 p.m. Central Time. I will be broadcasting from South Dakota, right? I'm going to South Dakota. Do me a favor, guys. Share with your friends. Let other people come here. Okay? And consider us for future training needs. All right? All right, guys. God bless you guys. Thank you. Thank you for making this a great class. And get ready for your questions next week.